from out in like the coordinate plane, which you're familiar with, and then talk about our special right triangles that have legs and hypotenuse. So starting with the coordinate plane. The coordinate plane is divided into 4 regions. We call those quadrants. They are divided by the x-axis and the y-axis. So you guys remind me, which one is horizontal? X-axis. So that makes the vertical one the y-axis. Where is quadrant 1? Not top left, top right. So first quadrant's in the top right. You're correct, Jackson, that it is where it is positive and positive. So this is where your x values are positive and your y values are positive. Where's quadrant 2? Okay, so the top left. So you go counterclockwise when you label them. So this is quadrant 2, go down, that's quadrant 3, and go across, that's quadrant 4. And you will need to know that when you're working on your homework because they may ask you, where is this point, which quadrant? And you need to know, quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4. So top right, counterclockwise around, okay? Coordinate plane, 4 regions, x, y, and remember that when you list an ordered pair, it's always in the form x, comma, y. Make sure you put parentheses around your ordered pairs, okay? All right, so to find the midpoint, that's our first formula today. Remember that when you're on a number line, that's only one-dimensional and it's different. Today we're talking 2 dimensions and we're going to be looking for the midpoint of maybe a line segment that looks something like this. And so our goal today is to be able to find the midpoint of that line segment, and then we're going to talk about distance of that line segment. So starting with midpoint. When you have a line segment, you have a coordinate here at one endpoint, which I'm going to call x1, y1. And then you have a point here, which I'm going to call x2, y2. Does everybody agree that we have those 2 endpoints? If we want to find the middle of that line segment, the midpoint, then what we can do is we can use the idea of average. When you average something, what do you do? Exactly, Nathan. So you add them together and divide by how many you have. So if I have 2 endpoints, what I can do to find the midpoint is just simply add my 2 x values and divide by how many I have. So I can do x1 plus x2 and then divide by how many x's do I have? No, not y's. What did Nathan just say? You add them together and you divide by how many you have. So I added x1 plus x2, so I'm going to divide by 2 because I have 2 x's. Okay? Comma. Then you're going to add the 2 y values that you have. y1 plus y2, and you're going to divide by 2 because you have 2 of them. And what you're doing is you're basically averaging the x values. So this is the smallest x and this is the largest x. You're going to add those together and divide by 2, and that'll give you the middle. You're going to average your y values. So you take your y2 and your y1, the lowest and the highest, add them together, and then divide by 2, and that'll give you the value for your midpoint. Does that make sense? Okay, that is your midpoint formula. You may have learned this even last year in Algebra 1, depending on who you had for your teacher. There's one error here in this formula, and that is this should have an equal sign here. So add an equal sign where it says M. It should be the midpoint is equal to, and then there is your formula. Again, all you do is average. Add your 2 x's and divide by 2. Add your 2 y's and divide by 2. This is really confusing and messy. So that's why I did it back over here where we just looked at our 2 points and said, okay, let's average those. Okay, so there's your first formula. I'm going to pass out the red formula sheet for midpoint. Midpoint is on the front, and then distance formula will be on the back. So when we get there, we'll just flip this over. So the midpoint formula is sung to the tune of Itsy Bitsy Spider. And so I'll play that tune for you first just to kind of get it in your head, especially if you've never heard the Itsy Bitsy Spider before. So make sure you're on the side that says midpoint formula, not distance formula. And then pause the video here real quick.